This is Sports Drive.
Welcome back into Sports Drive. Once again, I'm your host, Preston Moore. I mentioned earlier in the show, we talked a little bit of high school and college softball. Playoffs are going on for both of those levels of softball. 10 different Panhandle teams at the high school level are competing for their second Gold Glove of the postseason in the area around this week. Joining me now to talk a little bit about that is head coach of one of those teams, the Clarendon Lady Broncos, Brad Elam. Coach Elam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Preston. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk a little bit of Lady Broncos softball. You guys have had a phenomenal season all year long, really, and now is when the games begin to get a little bit tougher with every week in and week out. It's win or go home, and now you're in the second round of the playoffs, going up against Hale Center. What did you like in the first round of the playoffs that you saw out of your team that you're hoping to carry into this series?
The first round, we started off a little slow, and then after we got going, our bats we were hitting the ball really well after that, and I like the perseverance that our girls showed, and we didn't get down on ourselves after we started off slow, and then we just rolled after that.
You mentioned something that we talked about a little bit in the break. Your senior class this year is pretty large, and it's an interesting thing because a lot of times, when you get a new coach in a new school, the senior class, they may not have a certain level of connection to their seniors, or they maybe have only coached them for a couple of years. You've been at Clarendon for over 20 years, so at this point, pretty much every senior class, you're dealing with athletes that you've been coaching up since they were little, that you may have known for a large majority of their lives, and now they're graduating. This is a large senior class, obviously a very talented one with the season you've had. What do they mean to you as a coach?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is my daughter's senior year also, and so I've been really close with this senior class since she was in kindergarten. I coached them in Kids Inc. in Amarillo. We played soccer, we ran track and played basketball, so I've been around these girls for a long time, and it's special to get to coach my daughter. She had a knee injury last year that was devastating for me, and she was out of season, but she's back this year with a good group of girls. We've got 6 senior players and 2 senior managers, and like I told you earlier, I've been around them since kindergarten. I've coached them since kindergarten, and it's just such a joy to be around them and see where they've come since 5 years old. And they may get tired of me, but I don't get tired of them. Every year I'm coaching them in something. So it's been a very special year, and also I'm retiring after this year, and so it's a really special year for me this year.
Going out on that note has to be really emotional, and doing it, again, you mentioned it, with your daughter's senior class, and that kind of extends beyond the softball field whenever you have that element in play when your daughter is in the class, because not only are you getting to coach your daughter, but it's, I would imagine, a lot of her close friends who have maybe hung out with her after school, and in off hours, and when you're not at practice, when you're not in class, you're still interacting with these girls, and you're still building a relationship with these girls over the course of the last 16, 17 years. So when it comes to that level, obviously you're going into a series against a very talented Hale Center team, and there's an emotional aspect knowing this could be the last time you take the field, but there's also an aspect of, hey, if we get down and we put our heads down and we grind it out, we could win this series. How do you balance those two things, knowing that logically you got to be a coach, you want to get your girls ready to go and perform their best, but at the same time there's an emotional aspect to it as well?
I'm trying to keep the emotion out of it right now. It's hard because, like you said, this could be the last time that I coach softball and the last time I get to be around these girls. And I think about it, and it's tough, and I'm trying to put that aside. And I'm usually pretty good at putting my emotions aside and not showing them, but I'm afraid as the end gets nearer that my emotions are going to come out. But they haven't come out yet, so I'm hoping to keep them aside for a little bit longer, and then so it doesn't affect the girls, and then afterwards we'll see what happens.
And hopefully the end is not as near. Obviously, there's plenty of rounds to go, believe.
Yes, there is.
It's only the second round of the playoffs, and you've still got regional semifinals, regional finals, and hopefully eventually making it to the state semifinals or a state championship series if all goes well. But first, before you can think about any of that stuff, you got to get through Hale Center. They're 21-5 on the year. You guys also, I believe, only have 5 losses. So when it comes to going up against a team that is pretty much as accustomed to winning as you guys have been this season, how do you go about stopping their momentum and making sure that they don't stop yours?
Well, they're a good ball club, and we've seen them 3 times this year. You know, one of our losses is to them, and we played them tight the other 2 games, and so we're very familiar with Hale Center. We know what kind of talented ball club they have, and they have good coaching, and we're just preparing like any other game, but also we know them kind of well. And so we know what they do well, and we're just going to go out and take them like any other opponent, but know that they're a very quality opponent and as good as any we've seen this year.
When it comes to playing a team that you have seen before in Hale Center, obviously there's a benefit to having seen them. There's also an element that goes into it when you know that you've beaten them before. You've also lost to them before, and that kind of creates a little bit of a question mark going into a series like this, whereas a lot of times when a team has seen another team before they play each other in the playoffs, if they won in the regular season, there can be maybe not an assumption, but a little bit of more confidence knowing this is a team that you've beaten and they have not been able to beat you in the regular season. That's not the case in this one. With one of your losses coming to them, what do you think your girls, or I guess what do you hope your girls learned from that game that they're able to apply in this series?
And not just from that game. I think we've been down a couple of games this year, and we were able to fight back. And I think they've learned that throughout the season. You know, we don't stop battling. Our girls battle the entire game, regardless of the score. And like you said, you know, sometimes going into games, you have some confidence, but knowing Hale Center and knowing what quality they are, you know, we're going into it with confidence, but it's still, you know, they're a tough ball club, and we're going to have to show up, and we're going to have to play our very best, just like everybody else at this stage in the playoffs. You know, you've got to play good.
What is your message to the team going into this series, once again knowing it's a strong senior class you have an emotional attachment to?
Just play your game. You've come a long way, and I know you're talented enough, and I know you're good enough. Just play as well as you can, and God will take care of the rest.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Elam, we appreciate you coming on the show, talking a little bit of Lady Broncos softball. This series, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but getting started tomorrow at 5 o'clock at Floyd Data, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then game 2 Friday at 5 o'clock, also at Floyd Data?
That is correct.
All right, so if you want to make it out to those games, that's when that will be, 5 o'clock Thursday and Friday, with a potential game 3 if necessary after game 2 in Floyd Data. If you can't make it out, though, we'll have coverage on News Channel 10. Coach Elam, we really appreciate you, and of course, best of luck. Hoping for a long playoff run for you guys.
I appreciate it, Preston. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll be right back with more Sports Drive after this break.